So now that we have an image and we have a system schema lined up, we're going to go through and take a look at some of these interactions or forces, and we're going to identify Newton's third law interaction pairs from that system schema. So first thing to emphasize is that every one of these arrows indicates an interaction. And if every one of those arrows indicates an interaction, then we're talking about forces. Whenever there's an interaction, there's a force involved. So every arrow does indicate an interaction. And so since each arrow indicates an interaction, well, the next step is every arrow or every interaction produces two forces. So every arrow that's present here indicating an interaction also indicates two forces, a pair of forces. We'll sometimes say forces come in pairs. So if we're looking at the robot interacts with a rickshaw. That interaction produces two forces. One, the robot pushing on the rickshaw, the other, the rickshaw pushing on the robot. So every one of these double-headed arrows is an interaction and produces two forces. Note, they're not all forces on the robot. So if there's one force from this interaction on the robot, one of the forces is on the rickshaw. One of the forces through this contact force on the robot with the earth. The other one is the contact force robot on earth. The earth gravitationally pulling the robot down, the robot gravitationally pulling the earth up. So these are all on different objects. So now these forces pairs, these interaction pairs are all identified. So from the robot here, we've got those interactions being this force between the robot and the rickshaw. So I can say, hey, there's the robot pulling on the rickshaw. Then there's also the rickshaw pulling on the robot. That is a contact force. Then we have this contact force. We have this contact force between the earth and the robot. So that is the contact force, like when the robot is, its feet are pushing down on the earth. So that's the robot pushing the earth down. And when that happens, the earth pushes the robot back up. That is another contact force. Then we have this double-headed dash arrow talking about the gravitational interaction between the earth and the robot. So the robot pulls the earth up and the earth pulls the robot down. That is a non-contact force. So I have this equal sign in here to show that they are all the same size. To make things actually correct, completely correct the rest of the way, I should also indicate that they're not just the same size, they're the opposite direction. So if I go up here, I can then say, if I say, oopsies, if I put a negative sign in here, that means that they're the same size. But if this is positive, then that's negative. If this is to the left, then that's to the right. So the negative sign indicates direction, and these are all the opposite direction of those. Now, those are all Newton's third law pairs involved on the robot.